Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. We have a really cool book today. It's X Factor Annual 7. Three amazing stories by, I don't know how amazing the stories are, but the art is like killer off the chain. Three huge names. Love this art. Can't wait to show it to you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. Okay, this is fun. So we have a Joe Quesada cover, JR. So I'm assuming it was inked by Joe Rubinstein. That looks like his signature there. This is part 3 of SHATTERSHOT. Marvel was doing annual events in the 90s that would continue through their annuals. I think that's a fun way to do it. I mean, on one hand, it's annoying because then you'd have to buy all the annuals, even of the books you didn't collect if you wanted the full story. But I never bought into that. If I was out of the loop on another part of the story, no biggie for me, because if I didn't want the book, I wasn't going to collect it, and there's no event crossover that can make me do it. I feel like since Joe Quesada went on to be like such a bigwig at Marvel, sometimes his art is kind of overlooked, but his art is freaking amazing. I love his art. It's very powerful, very dynamic and graphic, with like a great use of negative space, and the way he spots his blacks is just like totally gorgeous. So we have X Factor, SHATTERSHOT, Annual 7. This is from 1992, kids. The Historians of Tales to Come, SHATTERSHOT Part 3. Writer Fabian Nicieza, largely associated with the X franchise in the late 80s, early 90s. Penciler Joe Quesada, inker Joe Rubinstein, letterer Richard Starkings. Interesting. Of course, we all know him from lettering The Killing Joke. Part 2, Drowning in Paperwork. Writer Peter David. Penciler Darick Robertson. That makes me happy. I love Darick Robertson's art. And then for the last one, we get Peter David writing, penciling is Joe Maduriera, who's fairly new to comics at this point, I want to say. Inker Andrew Peepoy, sorry. And then a couple of pinups by Bill Sienkiewicz and one by Steve Leialoha. So we are in good shape art-wise so far, and I love this. Like, Spiral is one of the coolest characters, designed by Art Adams for the Long Shot miniseries that introduced her and the rest of the world to Mojo and other things. Whoa, those are some seriously gross nipples on Mojo, and ugh, that is disgusting. But what a great Mojo face. Mojo face should be a thing if it's not already. And it's very Clockwork Orange with like the eyelids being held open, and just such a crazy design for the minds of Innocenti and Art Adams and God knows what else. Joe Quesada is very good at like drawing facial expressions. He's just a very good, like, really well-rounded artist. I just have always liked his style. It is pretty stylized to the extent where I could see, like, it might not be for everybody, but I really appreciate, like, just his use of lighting and stuff. That's a great panel. I feel like Peter David's X Factor was so amazing. I felt like, especially that issue where they were all therapized by Doc Samson, such a standout issue. Hopefully that one's coming up in future videos. Guido, aka Strong Guy. People say that Strong Guy is like a stupid name, but I think it's like a cool name. Like, I like literal, very literal things like that. They're kind of ironic and funny. Val Cooper, I love it. Since it's the 90s, she's got to like have this mini skirt on and just tits out and just, you know, being a bad girl. Because bad girls were popular in the 90s. Whoa, look at that detail. That is so cool. Great use of perspective. See, I feel like you can definitely separate the people who know. I mean, there are some people who are great artists but don't know how to draw, if that makes sense. Like, you know, their perspective is off or their anatomy is off, but there might still be something appealing. I think it definitely serves you better as an artist to know the tricks of the trade. Like, like drawing ability as far as being aesthetically pleasing always gets better if you keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. But do yourself a favor. You know, you don't want to spend a million hours trying to figure out how to make the perspective work or look halfway decent. Like, know how to do your perspective, know your anatomy, learn the rules before you break them, I say. That's a fun panel right there. And see, as the colorist, like, I feel like that didn't really need to be there. Like, the perfect silhouettes of that, like, really stand on its own. And the coloring is very distracting. Coloring had a big evolution in the 90s. I think we're in a good place with it now. Some of it was kind of muddy and too dark. I don't think that this is overly so. But that is a freaking gorgeous page of Spiral. One of the things that I always thought was really cool about Spiral that I love is that she has 6 arms. So it's like, okay, you get one severed. You know, whatever, you have 5 left. Nope, she has to get a bionic arm. And luckily, you know, since the body shop is in Mojo World, all you have to do is go and get a new bionic arm and you're good to go. That is very sinister looking. I love that. Did we say that? Who knew? You know, Joe Rubenstein is kind of hit or miss for me. I'm developing like a new appreciation for him. I think sometimes he works good on artists and sometimes he doesn't. But I think that could be said for any art combination. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I just think he did a very great, flattering job on Joe Quesada's pencils here. So props to Joe Rubenstein for that. Oh, I am begging to see this recolored, though. Like, this is all very confusing and very distracting. I think it's too much. I would have went with more like a monochrome of the whole thing, I think. But that's just my opinion. Am I the Tim Gunn of comic books? Designers, use my mojo as inspiration for your next design. Very cool. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Spiral, where are you? I love you. You're so amazing. I can't even pick up an X-Men comic book these days, so who knows? There could be like Spiral and the New Mutants. There could be Spiral's X-Force for all I know out there. But I just don't give a crap. I'm living in the past because I love old comics. Mostly the comics I get these days are like more indie comics or comics by friends that I know. Or if it's a special event. Whoa, killer 2-page spread. I mean, she totally deserved it, but wow, that's pretty hardcore. See, what I always found interesting in comic books, and I think that's what you tend to notice when you see a superhero movie. Like, in comic books, like, she would be dead, right? I mean, you can't just be hit with a tree and survive it, I would think. Like a baseball and a baseball bat. But they could bounce back a lot easier in comic books. I think they bend the rules a little more. You know, just on screen, it just doesn't make sense visually before it gets a little comical, I would say. No pun intended. Have we moved on to a different artist? No. Very cool. Havoc. I did love this version of X Factor. These costume designs are great. Such a great cast of characters, too. Madrox, Polaris, Alex Summers. I mean, Guido, Wolfsbane. Did we see Wolfsbane in here? Love her. Oh, an appearance from the original mullet bearer himself. Oh, some Kirby dots. Love you even more now, Joe Q. I love Kirby dots. I can always spot them a mile away, or Kirby Crackle, if you prefer. Sometimes I call them dots when it's not not necessarily a form of energy. But the art on this is just like totally killer. I love it. And there's Wolfsbane, and she looks super cute there. Very fun. Great pinup here by Bill Sienkiewicz, the master, a mutant masterwork, I would say so. I mean, that is so cool. I love that so much. I love Bill Sienkiewicz. We got some Bill Sienkiewicz coming up in future episodes, so don't you worry. This is so cool. I love Darick Robertson. I loved his stint on the New Warriors. And And of course, he would go on, you know, to do The Boys and things like that. But I love his style because it's sort of punk rock in a way to me. Like, it's very rebellious, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like, he does some nice hatching that is reminiscent of, like, Brian Bolland is probably the only artist I could compare him to. Inker Andrew Peepoy. I think he's a good inker. I think he's very flattering to what is going on here. Val Cooper. She was like a side character in X Factor, and I think that Peter David wrote her very well. You know, he definitely, his strength, I think, is character development, one of them anyway. I love Peter David's writing. Corny jokes and all. An ad for Jay Lee taking over Namor with John Byrne still as writer. That was fun. Got some of that coming up too, guys. It's fun to see his Darick Robertson's early work. You know, he wouldn't change very much. A lot of artists, like, you look at their early work and then compare it to their newer stuff, and sometimes it's unrecognizable as the same artist. But in this case, I think this is definitely, like, showing what's to come as far as the brilliance of Darick Robertson, because I always liked his art. Another beautiful pinup by Bill Sienkiewicz featuring Strong Guy. I love how he does action and, like, with the multiple fists and stuff. That's very comic booky in a way. One of the fun things about comic visuals. So, and last but certainly not least is the story Cal and Guido. So it's a riff on Calvin and Hobbes, I guess, since Hobbes is on the t-shirt here. We got a very young Joe Maduriera penciling, writer Peter David, inks by Andrew Peepoy, colors by Kelly Corvise. That's the second time I've seen him color in some of the recent videos I did, and he's mostly an editor, so that's kind of interesting. This is before Joe would, like, you know, totally blow up with his, like, you know, X-Men stuff and his you know, Battle Chasers. But his early work is still tons of fun. And obviously it's Calvin and Hobbes, right? Guido. I love it. Way to take advantage of his strange anatomy and really go for it. When annuals were fun, even though it was the 90s and they started, okay, so we get another one of my favorite unsung heroes, Steve Lee Aloha, in this beautiful X Factor pinup that is really gorgeous. Anyway, that was fun. X Factor annual number 7, SHATTERSHOT part 3. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit like, subscribe to my channel, share my content, and I'll bring you more later.